otherwise known as Adventures in Technology. Um, Tonight, we're going to be talking about Mar-a-Lago. I think everybody, based on listening to the news for the past month or two, has a fair idea of what they think is going on with Mar-a-Lago, but it's in doing a little bit of research, it's not necessarily totally clear. So Paul Vina is going to sort of set the stage and explain what at least he feels is what the issues are with Mar-a-Lago. Paul?
Okay. I have listed a bunch of things that I like to call facts. They may, some people may have an argument with them, but these are what I believe are facts. First one is Biden took office on January 20, 2021. Trump left the White House before noon on 1/20/21, the same day. Trump took boxes from the White House, some number. There is no inventory of the contents of those boxes, at least as far as we know. Sometime in May of 2021, Trump returned some number of the boxes and claimed that was everything that belonged to the government. The government made further claims that actually many, documents had not been returned and obtained a search warrant to search Mar-a-Lago, Trump's home. The search yielded around 30 boxes, some number, in that neighborhood, 30 boxes of documents. Approximately 100 of the documents were marked classified. The total number of documents was 400 that the search turned up. Many of the documents were marked top secret. Trump claimed that the documents belonged to him, but has yet to offer any proof that any of the documents belong to him. And that's where we are so far. There's a special, I don't know, I can't remember, what do you call it?
Master.
Special master. And he's been going through, first he said, which of the documents, the reason for the special master is to weed out the things that actually belonged to Trump and versus belonged to the US government. And the Trump lawyers have yet to tell the special master which documents they are. They are asking the special master to tell people which ones belong to Trump and which ones don't. The special master responded by saying, "That's your job. You have to tell me." And they have yet to fulfill that. They haven't done that at all. So that's where we are as far as the special master is concerned. I did have a clearance while I was working, and if I had taken home 5 documents, just 5, not necessarily top secret, but just 5, I'd be in jail now. And that was years ago. Having those documents outside of your work area, and as far as the top secret documents go, having them outside of a SCIF area is grounds for both termination and jail. Now, Trump had no as of noontime, January 20th, 2021, Trump was a private citizen. Therefore, he shouldn't have any documents, let alone any classified documents. So that's a problem. And it's up to Trump to resolve why the documents that are marked classified were in his possession. He has to basically prove his innocence because the documents are there. He's been trying different delaying tactics, but the judge says the burden of proof is on the lawyers must bring him, the special master, the proof that these documents belong to Trump, and they haven't done that at all. Every time they ask for something more, since they are the ones that are the plaintiffs in this situation, trying to say you should do this, you should do that, the special master has said that the Trump team will pay for that service. So that didn't go over very well with Trump or his team. I've made kind of like a ridiculous example, and just to show that I believe that what he's saying is not really a worthy thing to say. Example of returning work items. As an example, an individual works for a bank. He works with bearer bonds. He retires from the bank. He takes with him 100 bearer bonds at $10,000 each and 300 bearer bonds at $1,000 each. He likes to pile them up to use as a book stand for reading. Will the law allow him to keep the 400 bearer bonds? Will the law issue charges against him? I think, will they allow him to keep them? No. Will they issue charges against him? Yes. It's theft. So I equate bearer bonds to classified documents. So. With that said, anybody have any ideas?
Well, let me give you an update that happened today. The special master asked for a detailed list of everything that was seized by Department of Justice. And the Department of Justice responded, sent it to him. The special master then said to Trump, will you verify that these are the items that you had? So that if there's some question as to whether something was planted, there would be some record of what items it was, and they could be discussed. And he gave the Trump team 2 weeks to go over the list that the Department of Justice had provided. Today, the Trump team said, no, we're not going to do that. And you didn't give us enough time in any case. And today, Cannon, who's the judge who appointed the special master, said the special master's order is vacated. It doesn't apply. Trump doesn't have to do it. And oh, by the way, if he decides later to claim that one or more documents were planted, he's free to do so. So the Canon also extended the amount of time that the two sides had to do their reviews and their challenges, getting to the point where it's likely that that they won't get down to individual charges until probably after the first of the year. I just wanted to make sure that got on the record as well. Chuck, do you?
I don't know if Oman had something. I was wondering actually that given that the president lives in the White House, it's office and it's residence. So while they are moving in that rush of moving things, would you expect, or wouldn't you expect, some of those paper stuff get mixed up and then get moved out, and without any prejudice towards the president or his anybody else who moved that? Because that's what I'm wondering. Because what Paul gave an example that is basically just an office environment, but White House is office plus residence, so things could get mixed up. That's what I'm wondering.
Well, piece of
Things should
information
never
on that.
get mixed up between office and residence.
Well, certainly not classified items.
Right.
Other items, possibly. People take work home all the time, as long as they return it. But there was a piece of information. It came out, or was alleged, I should say, that after the election and before January 6th, the staff, the White House staff, tried to start organizing things so that they would have everything done when Trump had to leave. And Trump said, no, do not do that. I'm not leaving. And it wasn't until January 7th that he allowed people to start putting things together. There's another factor. Trump is not being charged particularly with mishandling classified documents. He's being charged with mishandling any documents.
I see. Okay.
There's a number of charges, but one of the ones is the Presidential Records Act, which was enacted in 1974 after Nixon tried to destroy a whole bunch of records, including his tapes. Said that all of the work product, including drafts and things like that, from the president, are in fact owned by the people, not by the president, and that they need to be stored under the National Archives. So, and what he's being charged with, among other things, is the fact that he took records with him that were by law the property of the people of the United States, not him. And some of them are classified. And I think more than anything else, the classification is being played up only to show the potential seriousness of what he did. But the charges do not talk about classified documents per se. Chuck?
Are any of the three of you aware of the organization called Judicial Watch?
No. I've heard the name.
The president of that organization is his name is Tom Fitton. It's been around for a number of years. I guess it probably would be considered by most people as being a conservative organization. But they do a lot of investigations on everything from elections to all kinds of things. Anyways, back a number of years ago, they sued the National Records Organization for records from Clinton's administration. That's what I believe that they did, because a ruling came down on March 1st of 2012. So it must have been on President Clinton's status. And it was ruled by a judge, and I don't know who this judge is. It's Judge Amy Bergman Jackson. And it's specifically on this suit, and I can't see too well my light here. And the ruling says, under the statutory scheme established by the PRA, the decision to segregate personal materials from presidential records is made by the president during the president's term and is his sole discretion. And that was ruled on March 1st, 2012. So the president, whoever it is, has the rights to the particular records. I just wanted to add that in. And I don't know of anything that's been decided beyond that since that time. The next piece of information I wanted to share was, Paul, you spoke very well about President Trump. What about the records that were of President Obama as well as President Clinton? What's the scoop on those?
I have no idea.
Actually, I do know.
But-
It was
Well,
just
wait a
in
second. Wait a second.
Right.
Wait a second.
Sure.
I have my information right here.
Okay.
A September 2018 letter from the Obama administration to the then activist of the United States, David S. Ferrero, has some of us scratching our heads over the FBI's unprecedented August 8th raid on former President Trump's home in Mar-a-Lago. In the letter, the executive director of the Obama administration, Robert Cohen, discusses the terms under which the foundation would work with the National Association of Records Administration to safeguard presidential records, which it digitized the records. Meanwhile, the facility housing material has been described in published reports as a warehouse and a former furniture store, and it sounds not too secure. And it turns out that in a letter, Cohen stated that the material contains classified records and artifacts as they were currently being stored at a facility in the Hoffman Estates, a municipality outside Chicago. He explained that the material would be moved to facilities that conform to the agency's archival, I can't say that word, storage standards, which certainly sounds like an admission that the Hoffman Estates did not conform to the NARA storage standards. Cohen wrote, the Obama Foundation agreed to transfer up to $3,300,000 agreed to transfer up to $3,300,000 to the NARA trust fund to support the more of the classified and unclassified Obama president's records and artifacts from the Hoffman Estates controlled to conform to the things. And 5 years later, nothing's been done. There's no security on the place. There's a fence with one guard, but nothing else is secured on the facility at all. And lastly, in a smaller piece, presidential records found in President Clinton's drawers, in his clothing drawers in his home. This goes back some time ago. In 2012, a court case denying access to White House audio tapes kept in former President Bill Clinton's sock drawer after he left office could help the Trump legal team in its battle to retrieve records that the FBI seized at Mar-a-Lago. The 10-year-old court ruling issued by the U.S. District Court rejected arguments by a conservative watchdog group, and that goes on talking about the previous thing on Clinton. And again, the Clinton case could impact the pending court case over dozens of boxes and records that the former president has. So it seems to me, based on these two former presidents, that we have a two-tier system of justice. I mean, obviously, the mainstream media in this country, because neither of these articles that I get from a mainstream paper are I've never seen anything reported on ABC, NBC, CNN, or any of that kind of stuff about any of this stuff. So, what do you have to say about that?
Well, I just looked up the stuff on the records at the Hoffman Estates,
Uh-huh.
and there were some records stored there. The key element, I don't know about the security, it doesn't say, but the key element was that the possession and control of those records were the National Archives. Now, how I can't speak to how they were stored at that point in time, but they were responsible for it and had control of it. And when it was moved, the Obama Foundation, which was going to be in charge of the library, provided funds to move it to someplace else. But at no time did Obama actually have control, possession and control. So maybe it wasn't being, maybe the National Archives weren't doing a particularly good job. I can't speak to that.
Doesn't
But
sound
there's
like
a difference between that and sitting in Trump's closet or desk. As far as the Clinton stuff, this is the first I heard of it, so I can't speak to that.
The additional point there is that looks like that if Clinton's sock drawer thing is correct, there has been a court case apparently going on. So that means something was done about that. And if it was really that he had documents outside of the ambit of archives. So if the court came and did something about it, so I don't know what else can be done. That means something was done with that.
An update. I just, in the same article that I was just quoting from before, when the Obama Foundation gave the money to the National Records, there in the agreement, they said, quote, not only acknowledging possessing classified documents, but admitted that they kept them in a facility that did not meet NRA standards for the storage of those documents. And this was the foundation admitting this. So in fact, there was evidently there was a gap in possession. I misquoted from before.
Mm-hmm.
But
my information says that those records are still in that facility.
I will see if I can.
But I thought the Hoffman estate was taken over by the archives.
What's that again?
I thought the Hoffman estate was taken over by the archives later on, right? Or no?
Not that I'm aware of. Paul, do you have any? I guess I'm curious on Paul, whether or not you see a double standard here at all?
It's possible there's a double standard, but there certainly isn't a double standard when it comes to classified documents.
Well, these are classified documents on both cases, both Clinton and Obama.
That's not clear. There's no statement in this article that I'm reading right now about classified documents.
The article I have says that it was classified and unclassified information in Obama's records.
And did they take them away?
No, they're still there, as far as I can read.
Okay, here's an update. The same article. It's not well organized.
Who's the article by? Also,
it was a fact check. The National Archives assumed legal and physical custody of Obama presidential records when Obama left in 2017. They moved 30 million pages of unclassified records to a National Archives facility in Chicago area, where they're maintained exclusively by National Archives. National Archives maintains the classified Obama presidential records in a archives facility in the Washington area. And as required by Presidential Records Act, Obama has no control over where and how the documents are stored. The location, it says the location of the former furniture store is immaterial.
That's the Hoffman Estates.
Right, well, it's immaterial because the General Services took control of that facility, and National Archives is free to use it. It wasn't anything that was controlled by Obama at any point in time.
That's what I thought.
Yeah,
I'm not sure I'm willing to accept that, but that's okay.
okay. This is again, it's fact checked,
But
and
you don't
you have
necessarily
to trust the fact checker. I understand that.
say it again.
I said you have to trust the fact checker. I understand that, but understand.
Wait a minute. Wait a minute. What do you mean you
What?
got to accept the fact checker?
No, I said in order to accept the conclusions, you have to accept the fact checker, but it works both ways. At some
Yeah.
point, we have to agree that it's dark outside.
We can see if it's dark outside or not. It's
Well-
just the degree of how dark is it.
Yes, that's absolutely true. That's absolutely true. But in any case, in the case of the Obama thing, that's the checked information by some group that checks information. So there was some question as to how secure the records, which it turned out were not the classified records, were until 2018. But after 2018, with money given by the Obama Foundation, the National Archives moved the stuff to a more secure location. That's what I've been reading.
I think your fact check may need to be rechecked because I'm going to
Okay.
check it.
Okay, fair enough.
But anyway,
I mean, as I said, we have to, at some point, we're going to have to come to something where we are willing to accept the other person's information.
not
Or,
necessarily. Not
well,
necessarily.
if we don't, then we might as well be living on a separate planet because
But you got to have actual proof of something. So somebody just saying something without you ever being able to have actual proof is not necessarily
understood. But what is proof? Neither you nor I was in Chicago in 2000, before 2018, checking the furniture store and going in and seeing whether there was any security on those documents, or whether among the 3 million pages or 30 million pages, I'm sorry, was there anything classified? You accept certain things or not on their face.
Somebody probably can document one way or the other what it is. We need to find out who is the one that's saying that.
But with that, we have to accept that particular person's authority, that the person is going to be impartial. And apparently the National Archives has taken charge of that. Doesn't that tell us that?
That's what
says
Bob
from
says.
According to the National Archives, they had control from the time Obama left. By the way, the author was a guy by the name of Noor Ibrahim. I don't know if that is useful or not, but that's who's saying what I was quoting.
I just wanted to point out that we have a National Records office in Waltham.
Okay.
In Waltham, Massachusetts, National Records, and I'm wondering, that's a regular brick building, and that invites everybody to come in. I have never gone in there, but I'm just wondering, any of you have gone there and seen what kind of security they got?
No, I haven't. I'm assuming it has something to do with the Kennedy papers, but I don't know that. Although the Kennedy Library is in Quincy.
It's in
Brookline.
It's in
Brookline. Is it Kennedy
No.
Library?
The
No.
Kennedy. Oh, I'm sorry. The
It's a-
Kennedy home was in Brookline.
Right. I thought the library was in Quincy. I've never
called
gone
the
in it, but I've
Waterpoint.
been by it. Huh?
But that
I mean, it's
I
called the
thought it was
water.
in, I thought it was in South
South
Boston.
Boston.
South
South
Boston.
Boston. Yeah, Paul's right. South Boston.
Yeah.
See,
Oh,
Paul and I
okay.
can agree on something.
Absolutely.
Yeah, I mean,
I can tell you that the Clinton Library is in Little Rock, Arkansas, because I've actually been there.
Oh, is that right? Wow.
Yeah, I was down in Little Rock doing a race, and Kathy and I went over to the library and spent an afternoon. Fascinating.
It was probably moving the records out of Clinton's bureau.
Now, do they show the documents there, or you have to ask? Because usually in presidential libraries you have to ask permission to look through papers.
It may well be. We were looking at what amounted to a museum where you saw presentations of things. I don't think we saw original documents. I really don't remember.
Go ahead. I do have a question. In all of this investigation of Clinton and Obama and probably the Bushes and Reagan and everybody before them, did they ever find any top secret documents in their possession after they left the White House?
Nothing I've ever heard about.
I haven't heard anything either.
Yeah.
But they did find 100, some number of top secret documents in Trump's possession, and also in his office, and even in his
Desk drawer.
his desk drawer, and even in his son's bedroom.
Oh,
I didn't know that.
I haven't heard about that one either.
Oh yeah.
It's clear that it was all over, and according to the reports, again, newspaper reports, top secret documents were intermixed with all kinds of things, including press clippings. So you could think of it one of two ways, assuming that that's true. Either they were there because they were just thrown together and nobody really cared what was where, or they were there because you hide things in plain sight. When somebody sees press clippings, you generally don't look very far into that because it's a waste of time. But if there's something hidden in there, it might be a way of slipping something by you. It's kind of like if I have a bookshelf that has all kinds of novels and various other, history books, etc., and somewhere in there is a Sloan first edition of the Gutenberg Bible. If somebody isn't real careful, they might miss it, and I've managed to hide something in plain sight.
But that's interesting, because that's why I was from the beginning asking that, is it possible that because it is residence come office that the papers got mixed up? But apparently both of you disagree with that that's not possible.
I think it's possible, except that, as Paul pointed out earlier, the Obama lawyers supposedly found a whole bunch of things that had been taken from the White House and returned them.
Not Obama lawyers.
Trump. The Trump lawyers returned a whole bunch of documents and then said there's nothing left. In the documents they returned, I think there were some classified items as well. But when the National Records organization said, hey, there's still plenty missing, and they got a search warrant, they found a whole bunch more.
Not only did they find a whole bunch more, but they had listed on the search warrant what they were looking for.
Right. So it wasn't that they were just saying, hey, we think. They had a reasonably good idea of what they were going to find, and evidently I don't know this, but evidently they found at least those things and probably more. We got another question to ask the group, and that is, let's assume for the time being that Trump deliberately took a whole bunch of documents and hid them or not, or just took a whole bunch of documents, some of which were classified, some of which were just presidential records, which by law are required to be turned over to National Archives. What should the result be? Should anything happen to Trump and or his associates who
I would
were
think
responsible?
I would think that you, Bob, as probably Paul also, probably think that he should be hung along with all his associates.
I don't think he should be hung. I do think he should
So
spend that.
we can
I do
work
think that
we
he-
can work down from there then, I guess.
Yeah, I do think that he should spend the next 35 to 40 years in jail.
I'm not clear that he should go to jail. I think he should.
I'm adamant that he should go to jail. As a matter of fact, he should have been in jail in May of 2021, not 22.
But you
What was
also have
that
to
for?
see, is there a precedent with the Department of Justice to prosecute such a president or something like some personality like that? What are they? What their procedures are? I don't know. I'm not familiar with that.
Well, we do know that in some cases,
He wasn't a president. Wait a minute. He was not a president. He was a former president.
Yes, at that time, former. Well,
He was a private citizen with top secret documents illegally possessed. He illegally possessed them.
Yes.
The day he left the White House, any top secret document he had in his possession made him a criminal.
But he said on Fox News actually that he just could think about it and make them declassified. Doesn't that count?
No, it doesn't count because there's a process to declassify. You have to take the document, you have to go through it. You say you want to declassify this document. So what happens then is the document gets declassified, the important portions of it get removed, and it gets reissued as a different document. That's the process.
Well, actually, it's not done by the president himself. It's done by the agency that did the classification in the first place.
Right.
Because so that, let's, for example, say there's supposedly a document which describes the nuclear capabilities of a country. Let's assume that that was from the CIA. If he wanted to declassify that, he would send the document to the head of the CIA and say, I think this should be declassified. The head of the CIA would go through the procedures of checking to see what the impact of that would be. If the head of the CIA said, yeah, okay, then he could declassify it as the way Paul described it. If he disagreed for some reason, he would go back to the president and say, okay, this is why we don't think this should happen. Trump, in fact, did declassify a whole bunch of things. Early in the administration, he declared in public that all records having to do with the Russia investigation should be declassified. The news organizations, the media, said, okay, great. So they went to, I don't remember what agency it was, and said, this stuff isn't classified anymore. Under the Freedom of Information Act, we want access to it. And that organization said, it is still classified. We have not done the procedures. So Trump assumed that he could declare it, or possibly later on think it that it'd be declassified, and it automatically happened. But as Paul pointed out, that's not how it's done.
In addition, he declassified some things and he did it properly. He went through the procedure of issuing a document to say that he did want it declassified and it should be reissued once the secret material was, or classified material was removed.
So
What
what you're saying is he knew how to do it.
Yes, and he had done it before.
Right.
He had done it while he was president.
couldn't they say that they had created the documents to process these, and those documents were stolen by the FBI during the raid?
I suppose they could, except that if he had done the documents and submitted them to the appropriate authority, that authority would have a record of those documents.
Yeah,
But
if he wanted something declassified, he would have had to give it up and then receive it back in a
That's a
declassified
glitch
form.
there. That's a glitch there. Because I was thinking that maybe he has the documents and he created the paperwork, and then the paperwork and the documents all got carried together away, and then they could say, well, FBI hid those documents and only showed the classified documents.
There's a problem with what you're saying. After he left, after he was no longer president, the 21st of 2021, he couldn't request that those documents be declassified. And if he had written it up the paperwork and never gave it to anybody, then it no longer matters. Because he had no authority.
Okay, that's what I'm thinking.
He had no more authority than I do. And oh, by the way, there are a whole bunch of things I'd like to get declassified. With a little bit of help from you guys, we can have a lot of fun. I know Paul wants to put Trump in jail, and I'm not 100% sure I'm in favor of that because it's a bad precedent.
Yeah,
there was a reason why Ford pardoned Nixon his first day in office. Well, two reasons. One, that was part of the deal for Nixon resigning, and two, you don't like the idea. Trump could have, I'm sure, come up with some reason why he wanted to put Obama in jail. It's just a bad idea.
Yes.
But are there other punishments that might deter, for example, Biden from sometime in about 10 years from claiming that things having to do with his son cannot be looked at because he classified them or didn't classify them or took them or whatever he might have done with it. Can you think of, again, assuming that we agree that these things were done, that he deliberately took documents, some of which, all of which were the property of the people. These aside, the analogy I use is when you invite somebody into your home for some period of time and you let them stay in a bedroom, etc. And when they leave, they take everything they feel like out of the bedroom on their own. Because the president doesn't own the White House. He's residing there. And when he leaves, according to the Presidential Records Act of 1974, everything that had to do with his time as president belongs to the people, not to him.
So you think that they could come back with a slap on his hand, but they should not put him in jail? Yeah, that would be a bad precedent. I agree with you.
Yeah, I think both are a bad precedent. It's got to be something meaningful.
What you're saying is he's above the law. That's what
you're
saying. Yeah, you are.
A punishment is a punishment. Petraeus did not go to jail.
You already said, Paul, it's a
everybody else would.
You already said that.
If anybody else did that, they'd be in jail.
Except
If
We just
anybody
talked
else
about,
did 1/10 of
yeah.
what he did, they'd be in jail.
The only
Yes,
problem
is-
is
you just admitted earlier, Paul, that it's probably two different ways of looking at things as far as, and you said it may have, so what's the difference?
There are two different ways of
Well,
looking at
I
things.
said,
So if
I
I
said, well-
shoot, if I shoot you with a gun, I can say I have a justified responsibility.
we were talking earlier about Clinton and Obama, and I said something to the fact that there's a double system here, and you said, yeah, maybe there is a double system. So you're saying that's okay?
Not when it comes to top secret information. Not when it comes to top secret. There's no double standard.
I hope, I don't know about Oman, but I hope you and Bob are prepared to apologize for your statements when he's found not guilty, just as I'm sure you apologized in your minds anyways to President Trump when he was found not guilty of Russiagate. After all
actually,
the millions of dollars that were spent.
he was not guilty. What was happening was there were a whole bunch of things that he did, according to the investigators.
that's the Mueller report you're talking about, right?
Yeah, the Mueller report.
Yeah.
Barr, the current attorney general at the time, said, we're not going to prosecute. If you want to get rid of him, you go through the constitutional remedy, which is impeachment, which they did, and he was, quote, acquitted on political grounds.
The conditions of Hillary Clinton setting up Trump is nothing to it at all.
Hillary Clinton setting, I
You don't know anything.
don't understand what you're talking about.
You know anything
Please
about
explain.
Hillary Clinton working behind the scenes to set Trump up with this whole Russiagate stuff that happened?
You don't
Well,
believe the Russians helped Trump get elected?
No, I do not.
Oh, wow.
What about
No, I do not.
what about the
Did they-
head
did-
of the
Did Russia possibly send some messages over the internet or whatever, however they do that,
Money.
to try to influence? Probably, but no different than they've done for years on end with all our elections. So there's a trial still going on with this guy Dachenko, who was involved with the FBI. Do you know anything about that?
I
I'm
remember
not sure.
hearing about it a long time ago. Yeah.
It's not resolved yet, but Dachenko is going to probably end up in jail. But Hillary Clinton was involved with him.
But it's in either case, I think it's very difficult to have a straight line connection between any of that. The only thing I know is that to have somebody prosecuted, you have to have a solid connection which you can really prove, which is very difficult under any of these circumstances, whether it is Hillary Clinton or whether it is Trump or is Obama, because the connections have to be very strong to be significant enough that it is proven in the court of law.
Well,
Otherwise
actually, can I follow up on that? One of the people who was indicted as a result of the Mueller investigation was the head of the campaign, of the Trump campaign at the time of the convention. And he was convicted.
Who was that?
I can't remember his name. Manafort, thank you. Manafort was convicted of many of the activities that supposedly never happened, and he was pardoned by Trump.
I believe that was not to do with anything to do with the election. It was due with some other dealings that he had on the side, nothing to do with the election.
Well, what he did was, as the chairman of the campaign, he gave detailed
Some lists,
polling
some
information
lists.
to the Russian, to somebody associated with the KGB or the former KGB, which may well have been used by Russian bots to influence the election. There's another woman who came to America, started sleeping around with the NRA, was in fact convicted of, among other things, filtering tremendous amounts of money through the NRA to the Republican campaign, and was swapped back to Russia for some Americans. So this Russiagate thing that's supposedly totally made up has in fact been adjudicated in part. What they weren't able to do or weren't willing to do, depending upon your view of Barr, was to go all the way back to Trump. But there was, in fact, interaction between the Trump campaign and Russians, and that was proven in court.
Don't believe that was proven. I want to leapfrog from there to
Okay.
all these comparisons you're doing with Trump and everything else. Let's just we only got 10 minutes left.
Right.
So how do you compare any of the evidence, quote, I call it, quote, evidence on the laptop that Hunter Biden, that the FBI has in their possession for the past 2+ years, and they're kind of keeping it behind the scenes. But the evidence is all out there. I mean, there are recordings of his laptop readily available. I've seen many of them, if not all of them, and implicates Joe Biden to be getting monies through Hunter from the Chinese on a regular basis. And Hunter says such and such, that he helped pay for Hunter's house and fixing up things and so forth. I mean, is that
again? I have not seen it, and that's on me that I haven't necessarily seen it. I can tell you that if that were the case, and that was reason for impeachment, for example, Ivanka received tremendous amounts of things of value from the Chinese government while Donald was president, as opposed to running for president, or before, when Biden was a simple citizen.
She made $300 million. She made $300 million in getting Chinese to build her clothing.
I don't remember what the detail was, but as one of the things that was going on when they were negotiating, China and the United States were negotiating some trade issues, was that Ivanka got a copyright. I believe it was a copyright. So yeah, some of this stuff happens, and yes, it sucks and should never be allowed. What are we going to do about it?
But isn't that, no, you finish your thought.
Well, my question was, if you're going to prosecute Biden for some of this stuff, don't you have to prosecute Trump as well?
I don't know.
Plus, Ivanka's husband got what, $250 million for his for the building in New York City, the old New York Times building. He got that from the Middle East.
Joe Biden's two brothers got millions of dollars for all kinds of things that he helped to get him taken care of for. In Saudi Arabia,
$250 million.
Yeah, more than that, I believe.
Let's agree that everybody in power are crooks. What are we going to do about it?
I won't agree with that.
Oh, okay.
I would agree that a large percentage of them is true, but I think there are some. I like to think there's some on both sides that are in there for the right reasons, at least initially. And I hope
I
more
hope
than that.
I also hope that that be true, but I'm trying to figure out what are we going to do as American citizens with what we hope is an independent judiciary if we can prove that both Biden and Trump committed these crimes. What are we going to do about it? But whatever we do has to be at least equivalent between the two. You can't just say Biden did this bad stuff and his family benefited $100 million, and Trump did this bad stuff and his family did $1 billion, but that's inflation. You know, things were a lot different back then. So Trump is okay, but Biden we're going to get. It can't be. You got to have equivalency.
Paul said earlier there's a double standard, so maybe there's be a double standard on this.
Okay, well then let's get Trump and let Biden Biden slide. Double standard.
We got about 4 minutes, so I don't think we're going to be able to solve it.
Okay, well that's why I asked the question. What should we do, assuming that Trump did all these things and we can prove it? What can we do to discourage Biden and whoever comes after Biden from doing that again?
From my side, I think maybe the Presidential Records Act needs to be amended in such a way that it becomes more explicit than what it already is. I've not read it. I have not read it, so I'm just.
I did read it. One of the interesting things is there's no penalty.
You see, that's something they could introduce, that without prejudice to a party, if that is set up.
But he's being accused of several other things that there are penalties for.
Okay.
Mishandling of public information, not necessarily classified, et cetera, et cetera. There's 5 or 10 years in prison. But when we were saying mishandling presidential documents, Petraeus actually was discussing classified information after he was out of office with his girlfriend who turned out to be a Russian spy, and he didn't go to jail. But
wasn't he punished? He was.
I don't remember how he was punished, but he was punished, but he didn't go to jail.
I thought he lost his whatever position he was in at that time.
I think you're right on that.
But he wasn't CIA director at that point. So
he was something else.
Yeah, but he didn't go to jail, is the point I'm making.
So they could come up something like that, rather than, because what I agree there is that you can't set up a president. You cannot set up a precedent to send presidents to jail, because it's going to become a conveyor belt. But Democrat comes in, Republican is in, Republican comes in, the Democrat is in. That is going to become basically, I hate to say this, but countries that we don't like, where this happens. Mm-hmm. That's not good.
Right. That's my concern about sending him to jail. But you got to hurt him somehow or another, or it's, hey, I can do that. As long as I get to be president, I will take care of any of the bad things will be gotten rid of. I think one of the things that's interesting in the New York situation, the civil suit, if Trump loses that, he can be forbidden from holding a position of responsibility in any American corporation and doing any business.
This is to do with Letitia James?
Yes.
He's not going to lose that.
I don't know. It's interesting. There's a lot of documentation.
He said my understanding is he had say an apartment. He said his apartment was worth $300 million. And he got loans from the bank based on that. The banks did not bother to verify the value of it all. They just took his word for it. And at the same time, he got the money and he paid back all the money.
But he
With
got
the
it at
interest.
special rates. And oh, by the way, when it came to taxes, he said that 10,000 square foot apartment that he had, which he told the
11,000.
banks was 30,000 square feet, was less, and so therefore was worth a great deal less when he went to pay his taxes. What they're essentially